And this is Bobby.
And this is a program called This Is Your Life.
And we have a special guest with us today, David Stallings. He was with you last week, and we're going to continue with him this week. I know he'll continue to be a blessing to you as he shares his life. David, welcome again to This Is Your Life.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
David, I'm going to just jump forward a little bit from what you told us the last time we talked to you about your son. You had the most unusual experience when one of your sons was a baby. You
Yes,
tell
ma'am.
the viewers about it.
Yes, ma'am. That was Joshua. He's my second oldest son. When I was on the road, as I explained last week, I had been leading a band in Bible studies, and for about the last 3 months of our tenure on the road, God had led me into studying under Kenneth Hagin, reading his books, and then going into the scripture and studying all about healing. Don't know why, but I read every healing scripture and was just consumed with healing. How God could heal, through Jesus Christ, walk around and healing people and just speaking it to them. Well, we ended up going to Brooksville, Georgia. That was actually the last engagement on the road. Then I was coming off the road. I already made the decision to come back home and quit playing the club and stuff. So in Brooksville, Georgia, I went down with the understanding, because my wife was pregnant with Joshua, and told the club owner I'm going to have to leave for a couple of nights because my son would be born. And anyways, I got a call from my wife, and she was in distress, and she was heading to the emergency room, so I told the club owner I had to leave, so I took off, came back from Brooksville, Florida, all the way back to Tallahassee. Got here, took me about an hour or two, or about 2 hours. But Joshua was born in 45 minutes. He came so quickly that he was in distress. Everything was going wrong. But anyways, he made it here, but the doctor came in and said, Mr. Stallings, he said, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay, fine. So I went in to talk to him. He says, listen, your son came so fast he got in distress, and we were afraid we were going to lose him. And we've got him hooked up to the monitors and everything if you'd like to see him, but he has a hole in his heart. There's nothing we can do about it, and hopefully maybe we could operate on it at some point in time, but we're concerned about it, but he has a hole in his heart. And I'm like, no, where's he at? And he said, well, he's in, ICU. I said, well, okay, fine. So I went back and I told Lisa, I need to get out of bed. Now, she just had a baby. She looked at me like I'm crazy. You'd asked a question last show, that she see a difference in me? Absolutely, she did. I was pumping 220 for Jesus. I said, get out of bed. We got to go pray over her son. She just got up, grabbed her little IV thing, and here we go down the hallway. She's dragging it along with her robe on, trying to keep her clothes over. We get to the ICU and go in there, and they've got this little bed there, and Joshua's laying in the thing. He's wired up to everything, and all the beep, beep, beeps going on. And they'd showed me these printouts to where, yep, right there is where his heart is, and they're trying to explain it to me again. I'm like, listen, stop. Just give us a few minutes. I said, we're going to pray over this baby. I've been studying all about healing. And we're just going to pray to God who's going to heal this baby. And he looked at me and she said, well, I agree. I said, you agree? All right. Where two people more agree as touching anything, it shall be done. So we laid hands on that baby. The nurses walking by thought we were crazy. Laid a hand on this baby and I threw down. I prayed these scriptures and I said, in the name of Jesus, you'll be healed. Your heart's fine. Well, long story, let's fast forward to the next day or so. In walks the doctor with a nurse that had been in ICU. He says, Mr. Stallings, we've evidently made a mistake. He says, we've went back and we've reviewed it again, and we can't find anything wrong with your son's heart. Little lady over there in the corner who'd been there, she had a little tear in her eye. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what it is, Doc. God healed her. He said, well, it had to be him because it wasn't us, and we saw it, and now it's not there. I have no explanation. Well, God healed Joshua, and he's never had another problem with that heart to today. Joshua just was turning 27 this month.
Wow.
A miracle overnight.
Yes.
And he's a worship leader and musician as well.
Yes, yes. You've had other miracle stories too, because I've talked to you, and I know about them, and they're awesome. So I want to pull some of those stories out. Which one you want to share with us, or you want me to just pick one?
Well, when I came here to talk to you today, I told you about a miracle. You said, I said, when you do things for Christ, you got to sit down and count the cost, because the devil's going to come at you 7 ways from Sunday. He is. That don't mean you got to be afraid of God, afraid of Him, because God is on your side. Never fear the devil. Should have a respect for the point that he is going to come after you. Not a respect for him, but the understanding of the situation is a better word. So we were out working on the bus one day after I come off the road and quit playing in the clubs. I had a chance to go to Russia and blow horn over there and had many miracles over there. And I came back, and one of the guys that went with me to Russia, he and I decided to put together a Christian band because we're both musicians. He's a drummer, I'm a saxophone, keyboard player. And we had this old bus that had been on the road with, 1954 GMC bus. And the thing had airbags on it, so we were out working on this bus. And we were pulling a shifting cable out of it. Long story short, I'm up under the bus, and the bass player at the time, Fred McDermott, said, he says, Bruce, he said, make sure you don't cut the air line on the bus. And I yelled back at him a little frustrated. I said, what do you think I am, stupid? So I reached up and cut a line. I'm going to cut the line out, and I cut the air line. I was like, oh, I did not do that. So I went trying to get back out from under the bus. And the old bus started sitting down, those airbags, and he caught me right on the chest, and I couldn't go anywhere. And it was coming down, so the guys grabbed me by the feet, snatched me out, hit my forehead, and about the time they pulled me out of the bus, it was a thump. It was down about an inch off the ground, would have killed me.
Wow.
Two women come running out, Richard Carlton's wife, which was he was a drummer in our band when they pulled me out, and my wife, Lanita Stallings, come running out, and they looked up, and they said, do you believe it? I don't believe what? She said, look at the clouds. So we all looked up at the clouds, and it was a thick cloud cover, but it looked just like a handprint down through the clouds. I wish I got a picture of it. Strangest thing you ever saw there, they started crying, like, it's like the hand of God come down and saved you. Well, he did, because that old bus was coming down, and as soon as they cleared me up on that bus, it hit the ground, and it would have killed me.
Well, it could have dropped immediately, couldn't
It
it?
could have,
It was
and
a
it should
gradual-
have. There's no reason
it
for
was
that
kind
bus
of
to stay
gradual.
up.
Yeah,
I
until you
certainly.
got out, and then it dropped.
But you know, the word says he gives his angels charge over us.
Well, some people laugh and they say, oh, that's a coincidence. I said, listen, you call them two women right now, today, 20 years later, they'll still tell you there's a handprint in those clouds, and we saw it. Now, I believe God saved my life, and he has many times. Excuse me.
Tell us about your trip that you took to the mountains recently.
Well, that was with
This
Ronald
is a
Gray.
good one.
We, you know, Ronald invited me up to a men's conference in Toccoa, Georgia. That was last August or September. Matter of fact, we're going back again this year in September. He just contacted me about it. So if there's anybody out there like to go to a trip to Toccoa with Ronald Gray through his ministries, we're opening it up to anybody that would like to go to Toccoa, Georgia this year. Just contact the show here. We'll give you information at Ronald Gray Ministries. But I went up there last August, and we had a wonderful time. I went by myself, actually. And it's the first trip I've had in 20-something years I went by myself, because I have 10 children, so there's not a whole lot of time that I spend by myself. Still have 7 at home. So I went up there this time by myself and went up to the men's ministry, and we had about 4 days of a wonderful meeting with about 12 men. And after that, I had a chance to drive up into the mountains and go up into Cherokee, North Carolina. And I'll tell you, you want to tell about the saxophone thing? Anyways, we drove up into Cherokee, and I thought, you know, I'll take a day and kind of do the tourist thing. So I called my wife, yeah, I'll go see the Indians dancing and stuff like Native American dance. Well, the next morning, God woke me up about 5:30. I had a sense of urgency. I'm like, well, what is going on? And so I felt like I needed to leave right then, so I grabbed a cup of coffee out of the room. I ran out and got in my truck, dropped the key, and took off. And I'm riding up into the Blue Ridge Parkway. And I got my saxophone with me, and I knew that I was going to play for God at some point in time, thinking mountains, right? Well, I'm starting riding up in the mountains. I'm thinking, okay, this is about this. I'm over at maybe sunrise, blow horn with Jesus, right? Well, I rode along, and I looked at a pretty place, and nope. Next one, go up to another pretty place, and nope. So I got there right before sunrise, and I looked up as I'm coming around the curve, and there's a beautiful overpass. You can see the clouds in there, and it felt like the valley went on forever. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I looked up in the sky, and there's contrails where jets have gone by. There's the most beautiful, perfect cross from these contrails. And I said, X marks the spot. So I got off on the side of the road, walked across. There wasn't really an overlook there. The overlook was on up, but I stood next to the rail and got my saxophone out and started blowing Amazing Grace. And I'm blowing the saxophone for Jesus at that time. I mean, it was so emotional. I'm crying. I'm just, you know, boo-hooing. I'm blowing the horn. And I probably blew for 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden it was over. So I went back and got in the truck, and I looked up and I got to thinking, I said, nobody has come by. Now on the way up, there were cars still behind me back there, but not one person had passed since I've been playing until I shut my door, then cars started going by. was the most incredible moment. It's like God just suspended the time there, and I just worshiped Him with that saxophone. And if you have anything you have in your spirit, getting along with God and doing a worship session is the best way to clear your system. It's like, man,
That's
I'm telling
true.
you, it was beautiful.
That's true. That's beautiful. Well, share another story with us before we run out of time here.
Another story.
Well, something related, if you can, that was related to that trip.
Okay.
Something, a healing that God performed in you.
Yeah, I know that that was for the glory of God, but I know that God did something for you too. When you worship Him and
Well,
put Him first, He does something for you.
This is true. When I left Tallahassee, I know it's going to sound kind of strange, but for some reason, when I was leaving Tallahassee, I didn't feel like I was coming back. I had been beaten up quite a bit, chasing paychecks and stuff like that with a big family. It's tough, but I had a lot of things going on in my life at that time. And when I left Tallahassee, I just had a sense of dread. And I know I'm going to a ministry conference. I should have been happy. And I called a couple of friends that had to pray for me before I got to Cairo, Georgia. Marlene Honig and Barbara Vickery, and both of them prayed for me. And they said, I said, I feel like I'm going to die. And they go like, what in the world? I said, I feel like I am literally going to die. And they said, well, we're going to pray for you. And I basically turned the radio on, and all the way to Atlanta, to Toccoa, Georgia, I just listened to bluegrass gospel and everything, and it just kept my spirit going. And I just stayed up all night listening to music. That's the only way I got up to Georgia. Well, after the meeting with Ronald Gray, and then I went up into the mountains and blew the saxophone and spent some time alone driving by myself, I did a lot of praying during that time period. Yeah. And I was sitting there on the back of a hotel by a little creek going by there in Cherokee the night before that saxophone. And I'm just sitting there talking to Jesus. I'm like, God, what is going on with me? And I've got a lot of things going on in my life, and I feel like I'm just burdened down. And God just started pouring into me. And I could feel these things just breaking off of me. And I guess the main point today, next day when I blew the horn, but what had happened in essence is during that time period I went through a cleansing. I can't begin to explain it, but I know I was talking to God and I was pouring my heart out to Him, and I had a lot of frustration, a lot of anger from things that happened in my youth, which I won't go into. It's another show sometime, hopefully. But God removed some of these things from me and cleansed my heart and broke these things off of me. So when I came back from that time on the mountain and going on up to see my son up in Nashville, I got back, and Barbara and Marlene called up and said, you know, Marlene, I did die. And they're going like, what? I said, yeah, I did die. Part of the old Bruce did die. Something I'd held over from years and years because of my past with my parents and seeing some things that other kids shouldn't have seen was broke off of me. And I did get a healing from that. A lot of things from my past, and so I actually come back. I was a dead man to the flesh and been renewed in the spirit. So that was the main thing that happened every time I actually got a healing in the spirit.
Listeners, we serve a mighty God. He's a miracle-working God. He doesn't love Bruce any more than He loves you. He wants to meet you at the point of your need. He wants to be real in your life. He doesn't want to just be something you're reading about. He wants to be a part of your everyday life. And when you invite Him in, really into your everyday life, things change. Do you have any parting words that you want to say to Him?
You reach out to God. Get on your knees and ask Him to show you. Jeremiah 33:3 says, ask the Lord, He'll show you great and mighty things you've not seen until now. Ask Him for something. God will prove Himself to you. Not only ask Him for a Cadillac, ask Him for something that's in your heart, because He put that thing in your heart, and He'll show you, and He'll make Himself plain to you. He'll come to you and He'll meet you at your need, and you'll see a change happen in your life.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Bruce. This is Bobby.
And this is Frank saying, God really does love you.
And so do we.
Amen.